Hi, it's Judy. Welcome to my channel. I've got a bit of an interesting video today. Went hunting the other day. I was looking for some sort of guidance on how I could do sublimation on a heat press that was bigger than the heat press that I currently have, and was struggling to find videos that were helpful. So it's this moment where if I can't find a video, there might be other people who are looking for those sorts of things. So let's create a video. I actually have a reasonably sized heat press. It's 30 centimeters by 40 centimeters, which is a fairly good old size. And I know you can get some considerably small ones that are really cute. And if you're just a hobbyist and you're looking for some way of a heat press rather than the Cricut Easy Press, it's the one that looked like glorified irons. If you're actually looking for something that's either a clamshell or a swing away type heat press, there are some really cute little ones that don't take up too much space in your space and will do the job for you. And you can do bigger designs than the size of your heat press. Mine, as I said, is 30 centimeters by 40 centimeters, which is a fairly good standard. But actually what I find is that towards the edges, I don't get quite as good a quality on sublimation as I would hope for. So I've kind of developed myself a technique for how to do sublimation on things that are bigger than the space that my heat press will cope with. I'm currently making some wash bags for a friend, and the final wash bags are quite small, but because I'm embroidering them, I'm having to make the pieces slightly bigger. I'm actually custom printing my own material. So I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'm custom embroidering, and this is about 29.5 centimeters by 29.5 centimeters, which is about what A3 will print if you cut it into a square. So my heat press, although it is 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters, so this should work, I actually get a good print at about probably 23 centimeters wide by 35 centimeters wide. And sometimes the edges are the sides are a little bit dodgy too. So I wanted to show you the technique that I use for if I'm trying to sublimate onto something that is bigger than my heat press. And then the next inference from there is, so how do you do that with heat transfer vinyl? So this little video is a little short video. In fact, this intro is going on too long, showing you how I sublimate and how I heat transfer onto items that are bigger than my heat press. Keep watching. So I have to do a little bit of experimentation firsthand. And so in this shot, what you're seeing is me trying to use heat tape to hold the whole sheet in place, and I found actually that because this is 100% polyester tablecloth, it's quite difficult. What I finally settled on was I do a first press with the design in the middle of my sandwich, as it were. I sandwich one craft sheet underneath, put my work on top, put another piece over, and that holds it all together with just a little bit of heat tape to hold things kind of in place. And then after the first press, I then move the whole thing down probably about 10 or 15 centimeters, re-sandwich it, so there we go, and press it again, then take it off, turn the whole thing 180 degrees, again bring it down about 10 centimeters and put it back under the press again. So here you're getting a view of all three presses of a particular sheet. So here we go, in the center and press. Then take it off, slide it down and press again. I've done some editing here, so you're not sitting watching me press. It gets pressed for 60 seconds each time, and I'm working at 190 degrees Celsius. So there we go, we get a good clear image. Now sometimes the edges, as I said before, the edges don't work all that well. So this is what I found worked for me. If I did the center first, that means that if I've got an image in the center, it will be pressed in one fell swoop, so it doesn't matter if it ghosts. If it ghosts a little bit on the edges, in this instance, that's okay, because I'm probably going to be cutting those off anyway. So what I finally settled on was this little cross hatch of heat tape on the sides in the center was enough to hold it all in place. So one press, and there we go. You can see it hasn't pressed on the bottom there. So now I take it out, I turn it 180 degrees, put it back in, and you can see this time it has. Right, now we're moving on to the t-shirt. This is an old t-shirt that I bought from Primark in the UK years ago, and with the intention of putting something onto it, and I never have. So as usual, you lint roll it. I've lowered the heat on my heat press now. We're working at 160 degrees, and I have a tendency to work at about 10 to 15 seconds for each of these presses. If it's a hot day, I might lower that down to 5 to 10 seconds. So the first thing I'm doing is folding the t-shirt in half and trying to find the center point down the front of the t-shirt. And I'm taking my time over this because you really only get one shot at pressing the vinyl. And this shirt's a little difficult because the back of the shirt has a center seam. So actually what I'm finding is that I'm pressing and folding the front of the t-shirt over that back seam. Not happy with how hard it's been pressed, so I'm putting it back in for a second press. Right, now I've got the t-shirt straightened out on my table. I can now place the vinyl down. And again, this is going to be an off-center. I very rarely put my designs in the center of my t-shirts. I do them for other people, but not for myself. So now back to the heat press, now that I've got some heat tape holding it in place. And I'm just going to start at the top of the design and press it for a few seconds. This is literally to just tack it in place. Make sure it's tacked in place and not moving. And then I'm going to move it up slightly, do another press. Still check to make sure that it's holding and tacking in place nicely, and then another bit. So it was holding except for the top there. So I changed the sheet out underneath and just put in so that I didn't have any seams getting in the way. And just did that again to make sure it was stuck down. Now I can peel back the whole thing, and because this is a hot peel, I've got to go carefully because now some of it's cooled down. Right, so now put my ordinary pad back on, and now what I'm going to do is tack, the first heat press was a tack down. Now what I'm doing is I'm going over the design and making sure that the entire design is completely pressed in. And so this is the finished pressing. Now, the important thing with heat transfer vinyl is that you want some of the texture of whatever material you're sticking the vinyl onto to show through the vinyl. So as we go down this, you can see it just picking up some of the texture of the t-shirt, and that's how I know that the vinyl has adhered well across the entire design. I then also pressed the artist's name and the year onto the shirt so that she gets credit. And so there you have it. There's my technique for how I have done these two items. Every time I do this, it varies slightly because the design dictates to me the way it wants to work. So I do some variations and I have to do some experimentation, but this is generally the technique that I find that works for me. So I hope you found this very useful. If you would like to buy me a coffee, there's a link in the description box below, and that would be really good. That will help me out and help this channel out and help me to provide more content for you. It would really help me if you would like and subscribe. I absolutely love it when I get a little notification through that somebody else has subscribed to my channel. It cheers my day up. So thank you so much for taking the time, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Hope you travel well. Talk to you soon. Bye.